Before the world knew the silent shrug, before the 2-second clips became a global lexicon of common sense, there was just life. And for Khaby Lame, born in Senegal in 2000 and raised in the bustling suburb of Chivasso, Italy, that life was decidedly normal. It wasn't a life of grand design, it was a life of small, specific details, like the fact that on a rainy Tuesday in 2008, young Khaby likely spent an afternoon struggling to choose between 2 different brands of ballpoint pens at his local stationery store, only to lose one of them by the following Friday. Or that his favorite childhood snack was a specific type of Italian cracker that makes an incredibly loud crunch, which in retrospect is ironic, given his later commitment to silence. Khaby grew up in a social housing complex. It was the kind of place where you knew your neighbors by the sound of their cooking, the persistent sizzle of garlic and olive oil, or the muffled rhythmic thumping of a neighbor's vacuum cleaner on a Saturday morning at exactly 10:15 a.m. Khaby wasn't born in Italy, though. He arrived in public housing in Chivasso at the age of 1, having moved from Senegal. His childhood wasn't one of luxury, it was one of public housing projects. Imagine a young Khaby, perhaps wearing a slightly oversized sweater with a small mustard stain he hoped his mom wouldn't notice, kicking a soccer ball against a brick wall. He spent hours on those pitches. He wasn't the star striker, but he had heart. Interestingly, he also developed a deep, borderline obsessive love for basketball, specifically the Los Angeles Lakers. He once spent 3 weeks' worth of pocket money on a specific pair of socks because they were the exact shade of purple used by the team in 2004. By the time he was a young adult, Khaby was a man of the workforce. He wasn't a digital creator, he was a machine operator. He worked in a factory that manufactured CNC, computer numerical control parts. He wasn't plotting world domination, he was busy working as a CNC machine operator in a factory. It's a job of precision, inputting numbers, calibrating axes, and occasionally getting tiny metal shavings stuck in your socks that no amount of washing can truly remove. He spent his days in safety goggles that left distinct, slightly unflattering indentations around his eyes by the time he clocked out. His days were governed by the rhythmic, metallic clunking of heavy machinery. He spent 8 hours a day monitored by the smell of industrial coolant and the hum of fluorescent lights. He knew exactly which vending machine in the break room had the good crackers, the ones that weren't cracked in the middle, and he allegedly had a very specific way of tying his work boots that he claimed saved him 4 seconds every morning. Then came 2020. The world stopped. The factory shuttered. Khaby found himself back in that Chivasso apartment. He had a lot of time on his hands. Time to stare at the ceiling, time to eat pasta that was occasionally slightly oversalted, and time to scroll through the internet. He watched people complicating the simple. He saw a life hack video that involved opening a banana with a complicated set of kitchen shears, or someone using a power drill to peel an orange. It was the absurdity of it that struck him. He didn't need a monologue. He didn't need a script. He just needed to look at the camera, perform the task like a sane human being, and offer that shrug. While other creators were setting up elaborate ring lights and buying expensive transition software, Khaby had a cracked smartphone and a pile of laundry in the corner. He started by watching life hack videos, those bizarre clips where people use a power drill to peel an apple or cut their hair with a vacuum cleaner. Instead of getting angry, he got quiet. On a Tuesday afternoon, after eating a bowl of pasta that was slightly overcooked, al dente was a suggestion that day, not a rule. He filmed his first reaction. He didn't say a word. He just showed how to do the task normally, then gave that iconic shrug. He didn't know it then, but the factory worker from Chivasso had just invented a universal language. He didn't need words, he just needed common sense. And as it turns out, the world was starving for it. It wasn't overnight, it was the slow, steady grind of content creation. It was thousands of hours spent figuring out the best lighting in his bedroom, usually involving a desk lamp angled at precisely 45 degrees, which occasionally flickered in a way that made him look like he was haunted by a ghost for a microsecond. He didn't have a PR team. He had a smartphone with a lens that was almost always covered in a thin, greasy thumbprint he forgot to wipe off. He wasn't the product of an algorithm. He was the reaction to a world that had collectively lost its ability to do basic things. Today, Khaby is a cultural touchstone, but if you look closely at his videos, you can still see the guy who used to work in the factory, the guy who knows that a banana is in fact just a banana, and that, perhaps, is the most necessary detail of them all. This script covers Khaby Lame's meteoric rise to fame, focusing on the surreal transition from a bedroom in Chivasso to the global stage. It includes the unnecessary details to keep the storytelling grounded and slightly eccentric. On June 22, 2022, the digital throne officially changed hands. With a simple, silent shrug, Khaby Lame surpassed Charli D'Amelio to become the most followed human on TikTok. But the fame didn't just stop at a follower count. It turned into a multi-million-dollar business empire that moves faster than a factory conveyor belt. The transition from laid-off worker to global icon happened in a flash of blue light. By April 2021, he was the most followed creator in Italy. By the time he reached the top spot globally, he was reportedly earning up to $750,000 per post. Imagine Khaby sitting in his room, looking at a notification that he just made more money in 15 seconds than he did in 3 years at the CNC factory. Legend has it, he celebrated one of his first major milestones by buying a very specific, high-end blender just to make a smoothie he saw in a movie once, only to realize he didn't actually like kale. Fame brought Khaby to places the industrial fog of Chivasso never could. He wasn't just reacting to life hacks anymore. He was a juror at the Cannes Film Festival and a judge on Italia's Got Talent. He even made his way onto the big screen with a cameo in Bad Boys: Ride or Die alongside his idol Will Smith. Behind the scenes of these massive events, Khaby remained Khaby. Sources say that during a high-profile fashion week in Milan, while everyone was sipping expensive champagne, Khaby was spotted in a corner deeply concerned about his phone battery percentage, refusing to use a portable charger because it looked too complicated and might require its own life hack video. As of 2026, the Khaby brand has reached a level of corporate scale that's almost hard to process. In early 2026, a massive deal was announced. Rich Sparkle Holdings moved to acquire Lame's holding company in a transaction valued at nearly $975 million. The goal? To create an AI-powered digital twin of Khaby. This means an avatar of Khaby can be filming content in 3 different languages and 5 different time zones simultaneously, all while the real Khaby is potentially back home, still trying to figure out why his TV remote needs 4 different batteries. Despite the $25 million personal net worth and the billion-dollar corporate valuations, the million-dollar mime stays rooted. He finally became an official Italian citizen in 2022, a moment he celebrated with his family, the same family of 7 he moved into a much larger, much more comfortable home. He's now working on climate change projects with Robert Redford, proving that even if you don't say a word, the world will listen if your message is simple enough. From car filters to the Forbes 30 Under 30, Khaby Lame proved that sometimes the best way to deal with a complicated world is to just give it a shrug and keep moving. For years, Khaby Lame's silence was his superpower. It allowed him to bypass language barriers and become the most followed person on Earth. But, as the saying goes, new level, new devils. From high-stakes immigration drama to the cold reality of corporate takeovers, Khaby's journey hasn't been all shrugs and smiles. In the digital age, you aren't truly famous until the internet has tried to convince the world you're dead. For Khaby Lame, this death issue hasn't just happened once, it's a recurring seasonal event, like a digital flu. But how did the most followed man on TikTok become the favorite target of the global death hoax machine? The most aggressive wave hit in October 2025. It started with a series of high-resolution AI-generated images of a mangled silver sedan, specifically a model that Khabane doesn't even own, circulating on X and Facebook. The captions were chilling. "The world is in shock. TikTok's #1 star dies in a tragic on-set accident. Fans spiraled. For 48 hours, the search term Khaby Lame funeral spiked by 4,000%. During this chaos, a very specific rumor emerged on a niche Italian forum claiming that Khabane's final meal before the accident was a panini with exactly 3 slices of provolone and 1 slightly wilted basil leaf. This detail was, of course, entirely made up by a bored teenager in a basement, but it was shared 50,000 times as fact. The reason these hoaxes work so well on Khabane is his brand. Because he doesn't speak in his videos, he often goes days without posting life updates. In late 2025, he took a 4-day break to attend a high-level meeting regarding his $975 million deal with Rich Sparkle Holdings. To the internet, 4 days of silence from the man of silence meant only one thing: the end. While fact-checkers at Reuters and Snopes were frantically typing up debunking reports, Khabane was reportedly actually in a hotel room in Milan, deeply frustrated because the mini-fridge was making a high-pitched whistling noise that was exactly in the key of C#, making it impossible for him to nap. The death rumors got a second life when they merged with his real-life legal drama in June 2025. When news broke that Khabane was detained by ICE in Las Vegas for a visa overstay, the clickbait factory shifted gears. Because he vanished from public view during his voluntary departure from the US, headlines began to blur. Some sites claimed he hadn't left the country, but had instead met his end in a high-speed chase with immigration agents. In reality, the most dangerous thing that happened during his detention was that he reportedly had to wait 3 hours for a cup of lukewarm water because the airport's plumbing was undergoing a very specific type of gasket maintenance. As of March 2026, Khabane is very much alive, currently residing in Italy and overseeing the development of his billion-dollar AI digital twin. Ironically, the creation of this digital Khabane means that even if the real Khabane is sleeping, the virtual one will be shrugging in 4K resolution. The death issue remains a bizarre testament to his fame. He has reached a level of celebrity where his absence isn't just a break, it's a global emergency. And while the hoaxes continue to claim he's gone, Khabane continues to do what he does best, saying absolutely nothing and letting the world realize how ridiculous it's being.
In June 2025, the world's biggest TikToker found himself in a situation he couldn't just shrug away. While traveling through Las Vegas, Khaby was detained by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. The issue? A visa overstay. Despite being a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador and a global face of brands like Hugo Boss, he was caught in the middle of a massive immigration crackdown. Interestingly, a pro-Trump influencer named Bo Loudon claimed he was the one who tipped off authorities. Khaby was given a choice: face a formal deportation, which could have banned him from the US for 10 years, or accept a voluntary departure. He chose the latter, leaving the country immediately. Rumor has it that during the hours he was detained, his main concern wasn't his career, but rather a specific brand of electrolyte water he'd left in his hotel room fridge that he'd been looking forward to drinking all day. While Khaby was conquering the digital world, his legal team was struggling in the real one. In early 2025, his attempt to trademark his own name in the United States officially collapsed. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office flagged several issues. For one, the application used the word TikToker, which is a registered mark he doesn't own. But the most Khaby reason of all, he reportedly failed to provide a valid email address and neglected to sign several key documents. It turns out, even when you're worth millions, the paperwork for a restaurant and wine brand can still get lost in the shuffle. By January 2026, the Khaby story took a turn into the uncanny valley. A company called Rich Sparkle Holdings moved to acquire his commercial dealings for nearly $1 billion. Part of this deal included the creation of an AI-powered digital twin. This avatar can perform his gestures, mimic his expressions, and work 24/7 without getting tired. While the money is staggering, many fans feel like the soul is being sucked out of the content. Critics have started calling his recent videos low effort, and in late 2024, he reportedly lost 400,000 followers in a single day, following accusations that his content was becoming repetitive and stale. Behind the scenes, the pressure is immense. He's gone from a guy making videos in his parents' apartment to a corporate entity that employs dozens of people. He's faced backlash for his anti-racism posts and was even hit with body-shaming accusations after some of his older videos were recontextualized by critics. Success has moved him out of Chivasso and into a life of constant travel, separated from the community that raised him. He's reportedly developed a habit of checking the Wi-Fi signal strength in every room he enters, even if he isn't using his phone, as a lingering side effect of the years he spent struggling with poor connectivity in public housing. Khaby Lame proved that silence is golden, but he's learning that in the world of global fame, the noise eventually finds you anyway.